Hi, you may believe or have been told that if your dog panics when alone, then it means that he suffers from separation anxiety. This could be true, but the problem could actually be something else, something called social isolation phobia, which is the extreme fear of being left alone. And if you understand the difference between social isolation phobia and separation anxiety, you will be able to help your dog more effectively. So, one thing I'd like to make clear is whether the problem is social isolation phobia or separation anxiety, the signs are the same. In other words, your dog will still bark and howl and destroy and try to escape when you leave him alone. Now, let's look at the difference. It's a subtle difference, but it's still a difference. And of course, the way you approach it will determine whether you are successful or not. So, separation anxiety or solving separation anxiety is about your dog learning to feel safe when you're not there. Overcoming social isolation phobia is about your dog learning to feel safe when he's alone. So, let's look at the first scenario, which is social isolation phobia. Like I mentioned, it is the extreme fear of being alone. But if you drop your dog off at somebody's house, or if you leave him at a doggy daycare for the day, or if a pet sitter comes over to visit the home and take care of him, if his panic disappears in those situations, then the problem is social isolation phobia. It's not separation anxiety. Separation anxiety has got to do with your dog over attaching to you to such an extent that you become his sole provider of safety. In other words, he only feels safe when he's with you. And so when you leave, he panics. So that's the big difference. So let's say your dog really suffers from separation anxiety and you leave the house, but he is left in the care of other family members. Well, he knows them, he has bonded with them also, and so his panic won't be as much. But if he still panics a bit, or if he still gets a bit anxious because you're not there, like he can pace a bit, he can cry softly, he can keep on going to the door and coming back. If he does all those things, then very likely the problem is separation anxiety, okay? Because he has over-attached to you, he only feels safe with you, and so panic arises because you're not there. Now, of course, that panic isn't as much because he is still in the care of other family members, which he knows. Like I mentioned, he's bonded with them, but there's still a degree of separation anxiety. Now, of course, if you're alone in the house with him and you leave, then he's going to panic, not because he's alone, but because you're not there. So, if you want to know the difference between separation anxiety and social isolation phobia, you actually need to test. So, let's say, ask a friend to come over to the house and let the friend be there with your dog and with you, like chatting for 5 to 10 minutes, and then you leave. Okay. Now, if your dog remains calm and he feels safe in your friend's company, then he doesn't suffer from separation anxiety. But if he panics, despite being in the company of that friend, then the problem is separation anxiety. I hope you find this useful. If you did, and if you want to know more about separation anxiety, just scroll down to the description where you will find a free training video.